Welcome back to Football Daily. Earlier this week we gave you a 10 featuring some of the season's unluckiest teams, so it's only right we bring you the luckiest teams this time around. Let's get into it. 10. Newcastle United. Let's rewind to last July for our first entry on the list. Newcastle United faced huge criticism after refusing to renew Rafa Benitez's contract at St James's Park. This was the man that stuck with them through relegation, then kept them up despite the consensus that their squad was among the worst in the division. His replacement was of course Steve Bruce, who hadn't managed in the top tier since 2015 and had won just 28% of his 393 Premier League fixtures. And despite big money transfers like Joe Linton and Alain Saint-Maximin, many pundits tipped them to go down. But the truth is they were never really in danger. Finishing a comfortable 13th, they haven't been in the drop zone since late October, ending the campaign with a 10-point buffer to 18th, but it should have been a lot closer. Only Crystal Palace had a lower expected goals than the Magpies' 36.5, they outperformed expected goals against by 9, and in the expected points table they sit at the bottom with just 32, 12 less than their real figure. But their good luck might have run out. The Saudis have pulled out of the deal, so Mike Ashley remains in charge for now. 9. Juventus. For the 9th consecutive season, Juventus had just one goal in Italy, win the Scudetto. But they had just hired Maurizio Sarri, who despite pushing Juve close with Napoli in recent years, had only won his first piece of silverware in the Europa League with Chelsea barely a month earlier. With an attack featuring the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo and Paulo Dybala, and having the pedigree that they do, the expectation is that you'd romp home to the title. But that's not been the case. Those two aforementioned attackers are the only ones to have netted at least 10 goals, as the old lady have stayed just consistent enough to fend off their challengers. Inter slipped away around Christmas while the enforced break saw Lazio lose all momentum. Atalanta saw their challenge fade with 2 CR7 penalties in a 2-1 loss to the eventual champions. Edging close games turned fans against Sarri, but ultimately they were the reason they won Serie A, as expected points had them 12 worse off and down in 3rd place. There may have been disagreements in the dressing room throughout the campaign, but Sarri did enough to win his first league title. But expect an even bigger challenge from their rivals next season. Before we move on to our next section, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Football Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss one of our top 10s. 8. Tottenham Hotspur. Some people may call Spurs unlucky after being lumped with Jose Mourinho after the sacking of Mauricio Pochettino. Some will insist the Portuguese coach has done a good job, taking them from 14th to 6th, but that in itself has been luck. When Poch was let go back in November, Spurs were 3 points off 5th and had 75% more points than the team in 18th. 8 months later, and despite a rise up the table, they remained 3 points off 5th and with 75% more points than 18th place. Spurs also massively outperformed on their underlying numbers. Expected goals suggest that they scored 12 more than they should, conceded 7 less, and their 59 points is 10 more than expected. It's still their lowest points tally since 2009 and hasn't been good enough for a European spot since 2011. There's also no doubting the season being put on hold worked in Spurs' favour. It allowed their 2 best players, Son Heung-min and Harry Kane, to fully recover from injuries and contribute to results. That is despite Mourinho already singling out a number of players, most notably record signing Tanguy Ndombele, in typical move fashion. And we're the lucky ones too. Amazon filmed the entire thing. 7. Nimes. Heading over to France next, where the season was suspended in early March, and unlike Europe's other major leagues, decided to end their season prematurely with each team 10 games short of a full season. The main beneficiaries of this were 18th place Nîmes Olympique, for avoiding not just relegation, but also the jeopardy of a relegation playoff against a strong Ligue 2 side. Approaching Christmas, the Crocodiles were planted to the foot of the table in the midst of 12 games without a win. But when 2020 arrived, Bernard Blancard's team won 5 out of 7, including 3-1 victories over both Monaco and Nice. This run took them up to 18th, where they remained after 3 successive defeats ahead of the suspension, 4 points ahead of the now relegated Amiens. A run timed to perfection, with the season ending before they played the likes of Lille, Lyon, and a final day clash with PSG, as well as 6 pointers against Amiens and Toulouse falling to the wayside. No club in Europe dodged a bigger bullet than Nîmes did this season. 6. Werder Bremen. No team has played more Bundesliga seasons than Werder Bremen, as they often challenge towards the top of the table for European spots. More recently though, they have been less successful, finishing in the top half just 3 times in the last decade, whilst this season almost saw them drop down to Germany's 2nd tier. Despite just 3 defeats in their first 10 matches, a run of just 2 wins in their next 16 games saw them fall to 17th, second bottom in the Bundesliga. At this point, they were 5 points off Fortuna Düsseldorf in the playoff position with 8 matches remaining. And even entering the final day, Bremen still needed results to fall their way to have a shot at maintaining their top flight status. And they did just that, as Düsseldorf went to Union Berlin and lost 3-0. Werder Bremen ran out 6-1 winners over Cologne, leapfrogging their rivals into 16th. And then came the small matter of the playoff, where a 94th minute goal from Ludwig Augustinsson in the second leg at Heidenheim secured an unlikely away goals victory. They certainly walked a tightrope this season, but the 4-time Bundesliga winners will still be there next campaign. 5. Aston Villa. Time to take a look at Aston Villa's season. Back in the top flight after a 2-year absence, and led by 2 Villa fans, Dean Smith in the dugout and Jack Grealish on the pitch, the levels of optimism around the club were higher than they had been in years. They spent over £140 million over the summer, breaking their transfer record twice, but soon it seemed it could go the way of the prior season's big spenders Fulham. Dipping in and out of the drop zone all season, it was 2 wins and 2 draws from their final 4 games that ultimately kept them up by a single point. But there was one huge moment of contention, as during Villa's 0-0 draw with Sheffield United, goalkeeper Nyland dropped the ball over the line, but no goal was given because of a technological malfunction. Of course, it's a big assumption to say that Villa would have lost that match, but if they did and the rest of the season panned out the same, Bournemouth would have been celebrating survival instead. Football comes down to the smallest margins, and Aston Villa were fortunate it fell in their favour this time. 4. Galatasaray. Truthfully, it's not really been a good season in any way for Galatasaray. The Istanbul Behemoths were knocked out of the Turkish Cup at the quarter-final stage and were dumped out of the Champions League at the group stage with just 2 points to their name. But of course the Turkish Super League is usually their bread and butter, having won the last 2 titles. Not this season though, as a poor start to the season saw them down in 8th spot. And although an 8-game winning streak bumped them back up to 3rd, just one more victory from their final 10 matches saw them finish the season in 6th, outside Turkey's continental qualification spots. So why were they lucky? Because of league runners-up Trabzonspor. Trabzonspor were banned from UEFA competition by UEFA over FFP infringements last month, following an agreement made between the two back in 2016. As a result, the qualification spots all dropped down 1, meaning Gala will take part in the second qualifying round of the Europa League next season. Not where they want to be, but they'll take it nonetheless. And they finished above Fenerbahce, who fared even worse in 7th. The fans will love that too. 3. Borussia Dortmund. This season was another in which Borussia Dortmund seemed so close to the Bundesliga crown, but were so far away. At one point appearing to be legitimate challengers, the runners-up trailed Bayern Munich by 13. But the reality is that they were even lucky to have finished in 2nd spot. BVB scored at least 3 goals in 14 of their 34 league matches, with their 84 total goals scored being the club's highest total in a single top-tier campaign since 1953. But they massively overperformed, with expected goals suggesting they should have found the net just 64 times. This differential of plus 20 was the highest across all of Europe's top 5 leagues, with Serie A's Sassuolo the only other side to be at least plus 15. Lucien Favre's side were extremely exciting to watch, there's no doubt about that, with the likes of Jadon Sancho, Marco Reus and Torgan Hazard pulling the strings in attack, only to be later joined by Erling Haaland. Signed from RB Salzburg for just €20 million, the Norwegian scored a goal every 80 minutes, with 13 in 15 appearances. Exciting team, yes, but fortunate to hold off RB Leipzig for 2nd, who were arguably a better and more consistent side this season. 2. Lazio. For a few months this season, Lazio became everyone's favourite Italian side. Simone Inzaghi's team were looking to qualify for the Champions League at the beginning of the campaign, and a genuine title challenge was hardly expected. But for almost half the season, it looked like the I Biancocelesti were the only legitimate threat to Juventus picking up their 36th Scudetto. In search of just their 3rd title and first since 2000, Lazio went on a 21-game unbeaten run, picking up an incredible 55 points out of 63. But they did have a bit of help along the way. Lazio won 17 penalties over the course of the campaign, more than any other side in Europe's top 5 leagues. Yes, including Man United. So it may come as no surprise that they overperformed in every single category. Ciro Immobile's 36 goals and 9 assists came from an XG of 28 and an expected assists of 6, as his side on expected points should have finished 7th, 16 points worse off, behind Roma, Napoli and AC Milan. In total, they scored 12 more than expected goals suggested and conceded 10 less. Even losing 6 of their last 12 matches didn't take that crucial Champions League spot away from Lazio. 1. Man United. Come on, were we ever going to put anyone else at number 1? Now, we're not saying they don't deserve Champions League football, and they were arguably the best team in England since the restart. But it doesn't mean they weren't fortunate to finish the season in 3rd place with just 66 points. Last season they picked up the same amount of points but finished just 6th, and their record this season wouldn't have been enough to qualify for the Champions League since the 2004-05 campaign. It's also the lowest total for a 3rd place side since Liverpool amassed 65 points back in 97-98, when a 19-year-old Michael Owen won the Golden Boot for the Reds. They rounded off their season with an impressive 14-game unbeaten run, sure, but also picked up the record for the most penalties awarded in a Premier League campaign with 14. And then there's Mason Greenwood, who outperformed his XG by almost 7, Anthony Martial by almost 4, and of course Bruno Fernandes with 15 goal contributions compared to an expected goals and assists of 8.7. This team ran extremely hot in the last month of the season, also being helped out by an inconsistent Chelsea and hapless Leicester City side, allowing them to waltz through to that 3rd spot. So guys, that was our rundown of 10 of the luckiest teams of this season. What did you guys think of the rundown? Did we miss any out? And were there any outrageous inclusions? Let me know in the comment section down below. As I said earlier, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell, and I'll see you next time. Bye!